Ever wonder how Cruella-Beware, Disney's glam ghoul puppy hater, got so murderously into outerwear? No? Well, that's too bad. Disney did, and they dropped $200 million to show us in Cruella. A prequel that asks, what if the devil wears Prada and Joker had a fashion baby, raised it on 70s punk and gave it a white streak? Directed by Greg Gillespie, a 2-hour plus romp through mod London where two Oscar-winning Emmas, Stone and Thompson, clash like titans in couture. The soundtrack is a relentless mixtape of needle drops. The Clash, Blondie, the Rolling Stones, and the camera never met a swooping shot it didn't love. Think Goodfellas, but swapped the mob hits for bedazzled highs and DIY rebellion. The story follows Estella, an orphan with dreams of design and a hairdo that screams spit personality. After losing her mother in a tragic Dalmatian incident, yes, really, Estella reinvents herself as Cruella, a fashion anarchist with a flair for vengeance. Cute capers, couture, and enough slow-mo runaway struts to rival Paris Fashion Week on acid. Emma Stone leads hard into charismatic chaos, playing Estella Cruella as a grifter with a sewing machine and a vendetta. Emma Thompson, meanwhile, devours every scene as the Baroness, a tyrannical fashion queen who's essentially Myriad Priestley with a body count. Their toxic mentorship spirals into a high-camp war of wigs and waistlines. Yet despite the punk rock package, Cruella plays it surprisingly safe. For a film about one of Disney's darkest villains, it's awfully squeamish about letting her be, well, evil. She never harms animals, blasphemy, and her crimes lean more mischievous than malevolent. This origin story seems more interested in redemption than rot. Less American Psycho and more Project Runway childhood trauma edition. Like many prequels, Cruella suffers from IP handcuffs. Every nod to the original, her car, the hair, the Dalmatians, feels like a studio whispering, hey, remember this? It's less organic backstory, more corporate checkbox. Without the 101 Dalmatians branding, this could have been a greedy, stylish, orphanage to riches tale in the vein of Matilda meets Ocean 11. Still, visually, the film slaps. Costume designer Jenny Bevian serves over 80 looks harder than a glue gun meltdown. From garbage gown to military chic, the production design is scrumptious, the editing frantic, the vibe immaculate, even when the plot gets lost in its own pattern cutting. But here's where it gets wild. Beneath the sequence and sass, Cruella might secretly be an occult inversion of Cinderella. Yes, you read that right. Strap in. In traditional fairy tales, Cinderella rises from the ashes to royalty through grace and magical help. Kabbalah, the mystical Jewish tradition, maps such journeys on the tree of life, ascending from the material, Malkuth, toward the divine, Kether. Cinderella is pure ascent, glass slippers, pumpkins, angelic intervening. Cruella, on the other hand, descends. Estella, meaning star, a falling spark, begins in soot and grief, but doesn't wait for a fairy godmother. She claws her way up through deception, rage, and fabulousness. This is the Quipolith, the dark mirror of the Tree of Life, a place where divine sparks are trapped in chaos, freed only through shadow work. Forget tiaras and forgiveness. This girl's path is paved with revenge, not virtue. The Baroness, a false Sephora, a corrupt divine mother, hoarding creative power. Cruella's black and white hair, symbolic of duality, mercy, and judgment. Her fashion shows, alchemical rituals, turning trash into transcendence. The Dalmatians, those spotted symbols of cosmic fragmentation, tools, not targets. In this reading, Cruella isn't just a village in origin. It's a metaphysical rebellion against Disney's sanitized myth-making. It doesn't just ask you to forgive Cruella, it dares you to understand that true transformation often means embracing your shadow, not denying it. So sure, Cruella may stumble as a tight narrative or a satisfying prequel, but as a punk rock fairy tale dipped in Kabbalistic inversion and couture chaos, it just might be Disney's most subversive film yet. Cruella and the Cosmic Couture, a Kabbalistic fashion showdown. Let's unzip the bodice and dig into the thematic lining of Cruella, because beneath the punk rock eyeliner and vinyl corsets lies something far deeper and weirder. A metaphysical identity crisis dressed up as a villain origin story. On the surface, Estella's transformation into Cruella seems like the standard dual persona arc, but look again, and it plays like a glam rock remake of Kabbalistic mysticism where light is born from darkness, ego is a shell, and sometimes your evil twin deserves the inheritance. In Kabbalah, identity isn't fixed, it's fluid, layered, and constantly oscillating between opposites. That's Estella and Cruella, not just two moods, but two emanations of the same fractured soul. Their dance mirrors the eternal tug of war between the Sephiroth, the 10 divine qualities of the Tree of Life, and the Qopalith, their shadowy, chaotic mirror images. In this cosmic couture showdown, creation doesn't come from stability, it comes from shattering, descending, and rising again. It's a divine pressure cooker, and Cruella leans into it with full theatrical flair. Let's talk depths. First, Estella's adoptive mother is dramatically yeeted off a cliff by a pack of snarling Dalmatians. A Disney death so absurdly stylish, it practically screams trauma with runaway potential. That moment marks the end of Estella, the innocent, and the birth of Estella, the survivor. Later, Cruella herself is theatrically killed in a fashion show inferno, only to emerge like a phoenix in combat boots. These aren't just narrative beats, they're alchemical rites of passage. In Kabbalah, this Nigredo, the dissolution stage, where the ego dies to make way for transformation. But wait, it gets biblical. At the story's climax, Estella learns the Baroness is her real mother, Shocker, who tried to have her murdered as an infant, Double Shocker. Estella responds not with therapy, but with high camp vengeance. She fakes her death again, frames the Baroness for murder, and legally transfers her entire fortune to her alter ego. Goodbye, Estella. Hello, Cruella de Vil. It's identity theft, but make it metaphysical. This isn't just a Disney melodrama. It's a dark retelling of Jacob and Esau from Genesis, viewed through a Kabbalistic kaleidoscope. Traditionally, Jacob is the chosen one, clever, pious, spiritually inclined. Esau is wild, impulsive, red-haired, and ruled by appetite. Esau sells his birthright for a bowl of Linton stew. Jacob tricks their blind father into handing over the family blessing, and the rest is Torah history. Kabbalistically, Esau embodies the animal soul, rooted in the Qopalith. Jacob represents the divine soul, climbing the tree of life. But Cruella flips the script. Estella is Jacob, clever, underestimated, a schemer. Cruella, pure Esau, fiery, instinctual, hungry for justice and power. And here's the inversion. In this story, Esau wins. Estella's willingly surrendered her birthright, her identity, her name, even her life, so Cruella can rise in her place. It's Jacob leaving the stage so Esau can take the throne. The inheritance doesn't go to the morally upright, but the unrepentant shadow. It's not a tale of spiritual ascent through virtue, but of a descent into chaos, to seize control of one's narrative. Cruella isn't redeeming villainy. She's redefining it as the path to wholeness. The Baroness, of course, plays the blind patriarch here. Though instead of Isaac's physical blindness, we get narcissism so profound it borders on mythological. Like Rebecca scheming behind the scenes for Jacob, Estella engineers her own deception, her own destiny. But there's no divine promise in this tale, only poetic revenge. And here's the kicker. In Kabbalah, redemption doesn't always come from surpassing the shadow. It comes from integrating it. Jacob becomes Israel not by running from Esau, but by wrestling with God and his own demons. Estella doesn't become good Cruella. She becomes Cruella who knows she's bad and uses it. The Dalmatians spotted symbols of cosmic fragmentation. The fashion shows rituals of transformation. The inheritance, not a blessing passed down from on high, but a kingdom seized by trickery and rebranded with teeth. So while Disney may market Cruella as a quirky anti-hero origin story with a killer outfit and a banger soundtrack, what we're really watching is a Kabbalistic inversion of Cinderella. Instead of rising through grace, Estella descends through vengeance. Instead of marrying the prince, she kills the narrative and steals the castle. And that final question, was it a curse or a hidden blessing? In true Kabbalistic fashion, the answer is both. Cruella is the spark hidden in the husk, the chaos that births creation, the villain who knows she's a construct and claims her crown anyway. Cinderella and Cruella. Kabbalah, chaos, and the couture of cosmic opposites. Delving deeper into the theme of unity of opposites, a foundational Kabbalistic principle that holds mercy and severity, light and shadow as necessity, co-conspirators in a cosmic wholeness, we find an unlikely pair of fairy tale cousins, Disney's Cinderella and Cruella. In Kabbalah, this paradox is not contradiction, but coincidence. Opposites do not cancel each other out, they complete one another. This embodies the tree of life, where Hesed, boundless mercy, and Gevurah, strict judgment, are reconciled in the Tiferet, the sphere of harmony and beauty. The process of balancing the polars is rarely tidy. It often emerges from tension, fragmentation, and, as in the doctrine of the shattering of the vessels, creative chaos. So how do these two iconic women, one a meek ash sweeper turned princess, the other a fashion anarchist with a traumatic origin story, each embody this mystical dialectic? The answer lies in how they walk or strut the path from exile to empowerment. Shared foundations, opposites in exile and transformation. Both Cinderella and Cruella begin their journeys in spiritual exile, what Kabbalah calls galut. They dwell in the lowest sephira, Malkuth, the kingdom of material reality, where divine sparks are scattered, obscured by suffering. Cinderella is literally cloaked in ashes, a symbolic negrito, the alchemical blackening that precedes purification. She embodies the exiled Shekinah, the feminine aspect of divinity cast out from unity, waiting to be restored. Her oppositional forces are clean cut. Gentle humility against familial cruelty. Her reward comes not through rebellion, but through submission and faith. Her fairy godmother is an emissary of grace, an angelic vehicle of the Merkavana, the divine chariot, turning pumpkins into chariots and mice into destiny. Through divine intervention, Cinderella's fragmented identity is restored. She is recognized, chosen, lifted to royalty, a classic tikkun olam, a repaired world born of patience and purity. Cruella too begins in the ashes, an orphan, a misfit, rejected by society. Her trademark hair isn't just a fashion statement, it's iconographic duality, mercy and severity literally split down the middle. But where Cinderella's transformation comes by grace, Estella's evolution into Cruella is a DIY apocalypse. Her godmother is her own inner demon. Her miracles are made with fabric, fire, and vengeance. Where Cinderella is transformed by Hesed, Cruella is transformed through Givura. And yet both find empowerment through the integration of opposites. Cruella's identity is validated by the slipper, the transparent truth of who she's always been. Cruella's revelation is more incendiary. She discovers her bloodlines, fakes her own death, and kills off Estella to become a myth. Both in their own way achieve a Kabbalistic unity, but one by ascending through light, the other descending into shadow. Contrast, ascension through light versus descent through shadow. Cinderella is a tale of soul ascending the tree of life. Her path lived by submission, humanity, and grace. She endures severity, but never becomes it. Her journey is a Hasidic parable. Light can be found by staying gentle in a harsh world. Her transformation is almost liturgical, silent suffering rewarded by divine justice. In contrast, Cruella doesn't wait for rescue. She rips her tikkun from the husk of chaos. Her journey takes her into the Qopalith, the dark mirror of the tree of life. In Kabbalah, this is where the divine sparks are trapped in impure shells, requiring radical acts to be liberated. Where Cinderella integrates externally, Cruella integrates internally, killing Estella to resurrect a new, indivisible self. Cruella's fashion isn't just couture, it's alchemical transmutation. She turns trash into spectacle, pain into persona, trauma into performance. These are not grace-filled miracles, but Qopalith cracklings, the violent shattering needed to release divine sparks. If Cinderella is Teferet, realized through patience, Cruella is that. Revealed through confrontation, dangerous, destabilizing, and revelatory. Her unity is not peaceful, it's explosive. Esoteric echoes, a tale of two tikkuns. Both women achieve a kind of redemption, but their tikkuns are radically different kinds. Cinderella, a luminous unity. Harmony comes from maintaining innocence in the face of adversity. Her story is a divine ascent, a journey from Malkuth to Teferet, a parable of reward to righteousness. Cruella, a subversive unity. Harmony comes not from suppressing the shadow, but from becoming it. Hers is a descent into the Qopalith, to seize forgotten power and wield it with purpose. She doesn't reconcile opposites through balance, she fuses them into fire. In Kabbalistic terms, Cruella is a challenge to sanitize myths of light-only redemption. It echoes Hasidic teachings that the divine is found even in the darkness, and that true wholeness only comes when shadow is integrated, not exiled. Modern myth-making, light, shadow, and the divine drama. At first glance, Cinderella and Cruella might seem like spiritual opposites, but Kabbalah teaches that opposites are two sides of the same divine coin. When one myth speaks to power of grace, the other speaks to the power of self-willed transformation. Cinderella's ascent teaches us that submission to divine will brings harmony. Cruella's descent reminds us that sometimes you have to tear down the palace to build your own throne. One liberates sparks with patience, the other with gasoline. Both paths are valid, both are sacred, both reveal the paradox of the divine, that the light shines brightest after we dance in the dark. So the next time you watch Cruella, don't just marvel at the fashion, ask yourself, is this villain really a villain? Or is she a Kabbalistic anti-hero, stitching together a new myth from the shreds of the old?